Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. Mother's Day, by the way, from what I've been told, Mother's Day is the best day to go to Disneyland or to um, Disney World because um, most people celebrate Mother's Day in different ways. They're going to take their moms out to like a brunch or something. It is like the least expected time that you would, because it's all about mom, right? So, moms, if you're into Disney, today is the best day to go, from what I've been told. From what I've been told. I don't know that, I think I went to like a Mother's Day brunch there once, but other than that, like at the Disneyland Hotel. But I'm just waking up. My Mother's Day brunch starts at 10:30, so I got some time here. And catching up on all these weird videos I like to watch, right? So this is one of them. The Brian Tyler Cohen and one of the dudes from Pod Save America like to get together and do top 10 lists, and um, they're interesting. They've done quite a few of these in partnership for Pod Save America, and this one is about DeSantis. So I'll start from the beginning. I'll cover it. It's about 18 minutes long. I've got some time before I literally am going to be going about 15 minutes away from home to have a brunch with my mom. My son is somewhere in the world right now. I don't know because he's in the army and I'm not sure if he's deployed or not. His wife, I think, might be in Georgia, or potentially she came out to visit her mom. So we're not exactly coordinated this year, and I don't know what sort of arrangements my brother made with my mom, but um, whatever. He's doing his own thing. Um, this is how holidays go for me, you guys. We're working through our own issues. All right, so
Brian, have you ever seen the video of Marco Rubio? They're doing some campaign event, and he's trying to play catch with a football with a bunch of little kids.
Yeah.
And he just dings one of them right in the face. I'm Tommy Vitor.
And I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And today we're going to be drafting the worst mistakes made by Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and there are quite a few.
It's a long list.
Long list.
So far. Mm-hmm. So why Ron DeSantis? A lot of people, myself included, thought he had a pretty good chance of beating Donald Trump in the primary.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to have been anointed the heir apparent in the Republican Party after the slew of baggage that kind of fell onto Donald Trump's lap.
Ron DeSantis, by the way, to the GOP is what Kamala Harris was to the DNC. Like, they kept thinking, yes, we will get Kamala Harris. And then they ran her for president. She couldn't raise any money. She did have some great debate moments, but I'm sorry, but if the people in your own state don't really like you. I mean, I don't even know how DeSantis won that election. I mean, the second one, he probably won on name recognition, which is probably how Kamala's been getting by in California as well. But, well, now she's VP, so she's definitely outranked him. But for DeSantis, and you know what? If you think that's not a fair comparison, keep in mind that she had backed legislation to arrest parents for their children's truancy. She was the top cop in California when there was, we're dealing with like the 3 strikes law and all kinds of other bullshit. Like, we were not happy with the criminal justice system while she was attorney general. Okay. And, especially, Orange County is a big, important place for politics in California right now and in America, because we have so many swing districts, if you will. And Anaheim hates her. And those are some of the most prolific politicians in the Democratic Party in the county are in Anaheim. And they can't stand her because when they asked her to follow up on investigate Tony Rackauckus for the DA who was supposed to be investigating police violence in Anaheim. She did not pursue it. So, is she doing the kind of weird crap that DeSantis is doing? No. But does she have a history of pissing people off in California? Yes. Um, so yeah, I think it's fair comparison to say that DeSantis is to the GOP what Kamala was to the DNC. They tried to run her. They tried to make her be the new superstar. It did not work because if you can't win your own state, you're not going to win a presidency. And funders know this, and that's why she couldn't get enough funding to advance. But she did do well in the debates. I'll give her that. And even though she attacked Joe Biden during the debates, I was that little girl. She still got selected as VP. That's how much the DNC wanted her. Nice work.
Right, storming the Capitol, multiple
Yeah,
investigations.
just a couple small things.
But
yeah.
for some reason, he's trying to do everything in his power to prove us wrong.
Yeah.
So we're going to list all the ways Ron DeSantis has fucked up so far.
What do you say we do a
Okay.
coin toss?
Have I
flip.
won this yet? I won it
You've
once.
won one.
Yeah,
Okay.
you won one.
Oh, heads.
You got it.
All right, we're back to normal. Let's do it. Okay, so for my first choice, I'm going to choose Donald Trump's endorsement. Now, this one is so
Interesting.
funny to me because this guy, Ron DeSantis, is going to be in this political fight for his life with the guy who he made this political ad about.
Everyone knows my husband, Ron DeSantis, is endorsed by President Trump, but he's also an amazing dad. Ron loves playing with the kids.
Build the wall.
He reads stories.
Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired." I love that part.
He's teaching Madison to talk.
Make America great again.
People say Ron's all Trump, but he is so much more.
Need storage?
People say Ron's all Trump, but he is so much more.
Big league. So good.
I just thought you should know.
Ron DeSantis for governor.
Oh, God.
You know, the thing is on that particular commercial, not only was it cringe when it happened, but it's even more cringe now, right? And I think that Trump should actually feel that way too. That okay, that's your fan base. Those are the people you're endorsing, dude. You know, that's the thing is he keeps touting how he endorsed DeSantis and that's the only way he won the Florida governorship. He keeps saying that, but if you hate the dude so much, you're the one who fucking endorsed him. So how do we trust your opinion on the candidates that you're endorsing? Which, I mean, most rational people, I don't think would trust any of his opinions at this point. But hey, that's what you get, guys. That's your thing.
If I had a nemesis and we were about to enter into the clash of the century and I could come armed with one weapon, a tank, a bazooka, or a video of my enemy talking about how great and smart and funny I am, I would choose that video. The fact that that exists is worse than like any other attack, any other weapon that exists.
But I also think Ron DeSantis is not the governor without Trump's endorsement in the primary. So I don't know. Can you get to here without doing that?
Probably not, but I guess that's not my problem. That's a Ron DeSantis. That's a Republican Party problem.
Pretty good. I am going to draft with my first pick the 6-week abortion ban. Let's watch a clip.
Overnight, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill that would ban most abortions after 6 weeks. DeSantis quietly signing the law just after 11 p.m., posting only this photo on Twitter.
So this is a wildly unpopular thing to do. DeSantis seems to be thinking he can run to the right of Trump on policy. He's trying to take more conservative positions on abortion. I don't think it's going to work. I think this makes him look like a crazy person. And so he's doing this terrible thing and then trying to have it both ways by signing this bill and then seemingly hiding it by only releasing a photo late at night. I think that this will make him unelectable in any general election.
The thing is, too, Florida had a 15-week abortion ban, but then the conscious decision to enact an even harsher abortion ban, he doesn't gain more support from the anti-choice crowd, but he will lose support from those squishy R's and those independents because of this.
Yeah, and people just think that this is a psychotic thing to do.
Yeah, and it is a psychotic thing to do. For my next draft choice, I'm going to choose failure to launch.
So I've said from the election of 2022, when people started asking me, we got a legislative session that we're working on. We got a few more weeks to go with that. We're going to be putting up a lot of wins on the board. And so I'm not going to be making any announcements before that's concluded.
Okay, are you leaning one way or another?
Stay tuned.
Oh man, Ron DeSantis had this rare moment where he was actually well positioned to, I don't know, maybe make a really good play at the Republican nomination. And he just chose to be so quiet, so passive, and he just got up to the...
That's the thing, is that as soon as he got in front of the cameras, everybody realized what a clown he was. Because they thought, okay, we're conservatives, right? We're the MAGA people, but that's getting a little too extreme. I mean, they became insurrectionists and shit. But this other dude in Florida seems to believe in all the same things that Donald Trump does, which they do, by the way. It's not like Trump's going to do anything for reproductive rights in America. Most women don't even know they're pregnant by 6 weeks. Come on now. Like, you haven't even missed a period by 2 weeks at that point, if you missed one at all, because sometimes you still spot even when you're pregnant. Most states will, at the very least, give you first trimester, okay? 12 weeks. But some states will also give you second trimester in the case of medical necessity. Because there are times when you, first of all, especially with heavier set women, they don't know, because they could get pregnant but not have regular like menstrual cycles because of their obesity, and so their menstrual cycle is off already, and so they might not know that they're pregnant yet. And because they're a little heavier, they're not seeing changes to their body yet. You can't just assume that everybody's going to be like, oh, all of a sudden my breasts are hard and my belly's starting to get a little hard. And not everybody figures that out about their body, because they already have like other body issues that are masking it. But also, that's like, literally, it's still not like a functioning baby yet. The Casey versus Planned Parenthood was the case law that was in effect that said you can have an abortion up to the point that the fetus can survive outside of the womb on its own using its own organs, right? That if it's before that point, you can still have an abortion. It's still your choice. But once the baby can survive, then it's a preemie. You're just going to have an early birth if you have some sort of medical condition. And I have a feeling that's probably what's going to still happen anyway, because it's not going to, they're just going to change the terminology. Like, you guys are so dumb. They're just going to be like, okay, we tried to deliver the baby because there was a medical problem and the baby didn't survive. How's this any different, you guys? Fucking just let us have our medical, please.
Plate, and the whole crowd is cheering him on, and he just stood there and took every pitch and just struck out, and then just is still standing there, and weeks have gone by.
He's not putting forward an affirmative message. He doesn't have the infrastructure in place to defend himself from attacks. He doesn't have a campaign staff. Trump, meanwhile, is just hammering him every single day that he can. And it's a terrible position to be in.
You'd be able to speak to this better than anybody. Like, don't you have to take advantage of these moments when they're in front of you, or risk losing them forever?
Yeah, he seemed to think that the strategy was to play out these several months of the Florida legislative calendar and then use that to gain momentum or be a springboard towards whatever eventual presidential run. But as we just talked about...
What a dumbass excuse, too, because if that was his excuse, then why did he take a world trip? That's going to be one of the other ones they cover. He went on like an international tour to try and show that he has diplomacy skills. And but he, at the same time, used the excuse that somehow he needed to be available to the Florida legislature. And he did this also at the same time that they were having massive flooding in Florida. And he started doing a book tour across the country. Like, he's not doing his job as governor right now. And people are noticing.
You know, what's really happening is the Florida legislature is passing a bunch of scary right-wing things,
Right.
and people are focusing on the individuals in that body and seeing how
Draconian, backwards.
right-wing, sort of anti-LGBT they are, and it's just not working out. All right, for my next pick, I'm going to go with War on Disney.
Disney has filed a federal lawsuit against DeSantis, saying he's harming the company's business operations. The lawsuit stating there is no room for disagreement about what happened here. Disney expressed its opinion on state legislation and was then punished by the state for doing so.
I have heard people refer to Disney in the past as a law firm with a theme park attached because all they do is defend their intellectual property in courts all day long.
Yeah.
And now Disney...
Well, and they also are constantly trying to make settlements with people that they injure in their parks, right? Nobody who has ever sued Disney, as far as I read, but this was a long time ago, I read it in Behind the Ears, they haven't lost any lawsuits. Any lawsuit where it looks like they're going to lose, they settle it. And they have all the money in the world to do that. But what a dumbass to try and pick a fight with Disney over something that the rest of America is absolutely not going to agree with him on. Like, especially when Republicans pushed forward legislation that states that corporations are people, right? They're people, basically. So if they're allowed to have their own political opinions and move forward, which I think this is actually one of the best examples of why, to some degree, yes, they have to have some creative freedom to make their own decisions that way, but they should not, like in the case of these small business owners who don't want to make wedding cakes for gay couples and shit like that. I think there's a difference between celebrating diversity versus actively trying to discriminate against people, right? So there is a clarification there, but I would never want to pick a lawsuit with Disney. Oh my God.
is suing Ron DeSantis for punishing them for political purposes, basically. And essentially Disney's saying we were exercising our free speech rights and you used the power of the state against us to silence us. Disney is pointing to Ron DeSantis' own book as evidence that he did exactly this. And that is completely humiliating. Trump is mocking him. Nikki Haley is mocking him. Joe Biden made Ron DeSantis a punchline at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. This is going very badly to the point where you're seeing DeSantis allies in the news saying, I wish he would chill out with this stuff. Why is he threatening to put a prison on the Disney property? Like, it all just seems a little nuts. And by the way, everyone loves Disney.
Yeah, everyone loves Disney. They're the state's biggest employer, and it's this iconic American brand. And so these people claim to be like these protectors of American culture, and at the same time going after like Mickey Mouse. Okay, so my next choice, I'm going to choose the migrant caravan stunt. I think we have a video of this one.
But DeSantis has sent migrants on a plane to Martha's Vineyard. Now, this is where the Obamas have a home, Oprah, Beyonce, even James Taylor, not to mention Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, everybody basically that you know on the left has a home there. Do you think they're going to be embracing their new neighbors?
I think, you know what? I mean, not only was it disgusting that he did this, that he violated these people's human rights, because they were coming here as refugees and they were entitled to apply for refugee status, and instead they were made a prop. They were made just some freaking gag for DeSantis, and he hurt people's lives in this moment. But look at how Fox News talks about it. Oh, that's so funny. What if we did that to you, bitch? What if we stuck you on a plane and sent you off to a different country and we're like, ha ha ha, how do you do now? Where are you going to go, bitch? How's that going to work out for you? I can't even with this dude. This guy is, I saw him on another video the other day being called Tucker Carlson Jr., and I can see why. He's such a smug asshole. Like, these people were already struggling. They came to America for a better life. They were applying for refugee status, you dumbass dick. Oh my God.
You know, these are all sanctuary cities until they're in their sanctuary.
Right. I'll say that it is always helpful to have these examples where Republican branding is proven to be so empty. Like the idea that you can consider yourself pro-life and then ship human beings off to an island where a camera crew is waiting for them to get off that, what was it, a plane?
Like a charter plane.
Charter plane, where they knew that they would have no supplies, none of the things necessary, no place to live. And then to call yourself pro-life is just, I guess it's such a tell.
I think the average person who heard about this came away thinking, like, this guy is a vicious sociopath who is using human beings as props for his little political campaign. And I think that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way in the long term. I am going to go with the embarrassing world tour. It's close to my heart.
Governor, polls show you falling behind Trump. Any thoughts on that?
Guys, I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
So this trip has gone very poorly. The takeaways so far are clips like that, where he looks really angry at press conferences.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is compounded by the fact that this candidacy already seems to be flailing, and every misstep on the global stage makes him look that much worse. But this has not gone well. And I think you're going to see more donors saying, I'm going to wait and sort of keep my powder dry, et cetera, and not support him.
He refuses to even admit that he's running against Donald Trump, and yet here he is doing state visits to foreign countries.
Yeah, look, there's a way to do that.
I'd be really curious to see like where the GOP is trying to funnel their money right now, because both of their top candidates, one of them not even announced yet, right, are in such hot water. They both look terrible because you've got the guy who's about to probably be arrested in the upcoming weeks because he can't shut up on social media. So he's probably, he definitely will be arrested in some of these other court cases, but I'm talking jail time. If he can't shut his goddamn mouth, he's going to get some jail time. And then you got this other guy who's so weak that he's trying to be Trump. He's trying to be as vicious and diabolical as Trump. But he only, nobody cares because he's getting beat up so hard by Trump. This is the weirdest election cycle yet. But I hope that this time around, people are a bit more alert, stay vigilant, right? About what's happening, because we understand how the media operates now. We understand what kind of crazy ass candidates they put in front of us. And this is just unacceptable. I mean, so I would highly suggest, folks, don't vote crazy. And both of these candidates are crazy. Trump and DeSantis are both crazy. Let's be real.
Without seeming like kind of a pissy asshole. But he has not figured that out yet. And he went on this trip to Japan and just got angry every time the press corps asked the obvious question, which is, what are you doing here?
The whole point of him being there. And then he's like, how dare you? How dare you
ask me what I'm up to? Yeah.
Okay, so for my next choice, I'm going to choose scolding students for wearing masks. Let's look at the clip.
I can't even.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything, and we got to stop with this COVID theater. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous.
This one particularly hurts my heart because I was just harassed by the doctor that was treating me for my leg injury, and has, for the most of the time that I was in his care, he did not wear a mask in front of me. He always had it pulled down. And then I started not getting the treatments approved. And his office was difficult with paperwork. And half of his staff wasn't wearing masks either the entire time. And this is this is when they said the pandemic was still going on, which, by the way, people are still catching COVID. So if I have a health concern and I still want to wear a mask, I should be allowed to wear a mask. But if we look back at that appointment where I was told I was somehow making a scene in the office while I was sitting there silently putting out promotions for KPFK's new labor show on Facebook, sitting there silently, my phone wasn't making any noises. The only thing I can think of that could have potentially upset them was that I was the only person in the waiting room wearing a mask. I can only speculate at this point, but I always felt a weird hostility coming out of that doctor. He was shuffling me off to a secondary doctor most of the time, and now I'm like really scared because dude did 3 spinal injections on me, which resulted in temporary relief for like about 2 weeks. And I have made some improvement since the dog bite, but I certainly still have a permanent limp and structural damage in my leg that still hasn't been examined, and I still haven't had nerve testing. So I would say please don't bring your politics to the workplace, especially if you're a doctor. And I can't assume that that's what happened, but the lack of mask wearing kind of makes it apparent, especially in a medical setting, you guys. Like, who the hell wants to treat patients all day without wearing a mask at this point? COVID is still circulating, you guys.
All right. Well, it's good to be at USF.
I like where he's like, it's great to be here with young people who I've just scolded.
Well, humiliated in front of all of you. His overall record, Florida's overall record on COVID is mixed. It's hard to like totally get a handle on it because the administration sort of lied and obfuscated so much about their numbers. But ultimately, I think the challenge for DeSantis is he sees his record on COVID as this big winner for him in the primary, because he can say when Trump was listening to Fauci and Fauci was telling him to lock down, we were open for business, schools were open, people were going to beaches. He thinks that's a real winning issue for him. I think it likely will help him in the primary, but I don't know. That clip does not help you in a general election.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with voter suppression.
Want to become a consistent...
Governor Ron DeSantis signs a controversial voting bill into law, including stricter voter ID requirements for voting by mail, limits on who can pick up and return a voter's ballot, and banning private funding for elections.
Okay, so the amount of voter suppression in Florida, it's vast. It's hard to cover it all at once. So pretty bad stuff, similar to what we've seen in other states and on a national level. What sucks about this is voter suppression tends to work for Republicans because they target it at Democratic voters, voters of color, and ultimately a lot of people are scared out of trying to vote. And you know what? I would be too if I thought there was a chance I could go to jail just for trying to cast a ballot.
Yeah, but I think what's, some silver lining here is that as we look forward, this is...
Yeah, I saw footage of people in Florida actually getting arrested for voting. And I think it was Bloomberg who actually paid the he donated a lot of money to make sure that certain people who had criminal offenses would regain their ability to vote. I remember this happening in the last cycle. But DeSantis has been trying to throw people in jail for voting.
The first election where I believe it's either Gen Z or millennials have more voting power than boomers for the first time. And so the idea that these kids are going to go out into the world and vote after that for the Republican Party when the only association they have with that party is that they prevented them from casting their ballots is just kind of asinine. And so it's the most short-term strategy that you can possibly imagine. So we've got 2 left. This is my final choice here. I'm going to go with playing catch with Brian Kilmeade. Let's look at the clip.
As governor, and if you're a determined executive, you can make things happen, and we've done that in Florida.
When can we expect the big announcement?
Depends how good we do in this legislative session.
Look, I've got an English degree. It's completely useless. It has only taught me to want to correct people when they use certain words wrong, which is really great in social situations.
Yeah, people love that.
People love that. But I just gotta love the idea of a literal softball interview.
Yeah,
Right.
Nothing as good as that.
That
It's
is
like
what
me
that
saying
was.
like, "Hey Tommy, rank your 3 best qualities from awesomest to most awesomest."
Yeah, how much time you got? So, first of all, they're just so awkward. Take your jacket off when you're playing catch, man. Like, that's not hard. Why are you wearing a suit jacket? Brian Kilmeade throws like a dork.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I dislocated my shoulder a bunch of times. I throw like a dork too now. But Ron DeSantis was actually a very good baseball player. He was the captain of the Yale baseball team. It's kind of a cool bio point for him, I think. It highlights the age of his opponent. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more of this stuff. But it did.
Maybe he should have mentioned that rather than have it be a literal softball interview. Maybe they should have just had some pictures of displaying his baseball skills and then actually sat down to the interview. I mean, it still would have created that image anyway. But I mean, if that's something that he wants to highlight, that he was an athlete, whatever. I mean, but this was such a like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Did feel so forced. Okay, for my final pick, and I cannot believe this fell so far in the draft. This is the Tom Brady of the 2023 Ron DeSantis draft, is putting fingers. Let's watch.
Oh, God.
Ron DeSantis loves sticking his fingers where they don't belong. And we're not just talking about pudding. DeSantis has his dirty fingers all over senior entitlements, like cutting Medicare, slashing Social Security, even raising our retirement age. Tell Ron DeSantis to keep his pudding fingers off our money. Oh, and somebody get this man a spoon. Make America great again.
Yeah, I gotta say that's got to be one of the best smear campaigns I've ever seen before. It even makes it not only does it make your skin tingle and make you cringe, but even when you call it for what it is, smear campaign, it relates back to the pudding fingers. It's just so gross. That was so gross, you guys.
Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So, okay, when I first heard about this story, I think the Daily Beast broke the story. It said Ron DeSantis with 3 fingers and a pudding cup on a flight in front of his staff, and everyone thought it was weird, whatever. My initial take on it was, it's sort of dumb, thinly sourced, Twitter fodder, no one really cares. Then I saw that ad. And I will say the Trump campaign used the weird imagery of the triple finger, sucking on the pudding off your hands, that imagery to jam an argument against DeSantis into an ad in a really, I think, viral way that a lot of people saw that got everyone talking. So now I can see how it could become a problem.
Yeah, just to flag one thing in the in this ad here is that it's so interesting how Trump keeps trying to attack DeSantis on being bad on earned benefits when all of Trump's budgets that he passed also cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Yeah, it's absurd. And why won't DeSantis just point that out? I don't get it.
He's too afraid to say even the most mild attack against Donald Trump.
Well, tell me why CNN has hosted a debate with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and now a town hall with Donald Trump. He has twice now made the false allegation that Democrats kill babies after they're born. Twice now. He did it in that debate with Hillary. She didn't correct him. He did it in the town hall, and the moderator who was there for CNN did not correct him. How long are you going to let them spread Donald Trump spread this lizard people anti-Jewish bullshit, because that's where it's all coming from, is that they eat babies, right? They kill babies, they eat babies. How long are you going to let that go unchecked? That's some bullshit. I mean, seriously, he blatantly lies about some really big things, and they're just letting it happen. They get rolled over. They don't even care. Hillary, if you want to know why you lost, it's because of bullshit like that. You should have called him out immediately and said, that is a lie, Mr. Trump. Democrats are not killing babies. Even when they're born. Come on.
policy point.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the draft of DeSantis's worst political moments here. And so now we're going to make our own pitch. Each one of us has about 45 seconds to make our pitch to you. And after that, you're going to choose the winner based on this pitch. So I'll start.
Please.
Let's do it. So first off, for Ron DeSantis, we have literal softball interviews, which is important. It's apt because that is the only venue where DeSantis can actually succeed. So it's just wonderful to see an actual literal softball interview because it just kind of puts the whole thing on full display here. He yelled at kids for the crime of taking the most basic safety precaution during a global pandemic because while other politicians are kissing babies, leave it to Ron DeSantis to yell at them because that's good politics. We have the migrant caravan stunt. Where DeSantis showed just how depraved he is as a human being, that while he brands himself pro-life, he was perfectly willing to use human beings as props just to win some two-day news cycle. We've got the fact that DeSantis built his entire career on the most fawning, desperate, disgusting Trump commercial that you could possibly imagine. And now he has the impossible task of trying to beat the guy who he is on camera groveling over. And of course, his failure to launch, which is the whole point of all of this. And that is that DeSantis has such poor political chops that he watched his opportunity come and go and still, to this very day, refuses to throw a punch because at the end of the day, he is an utter coward. And my list shows exactly why.
Number one, 6-week abortion ban. That is one of the most politically toxic things I can imagine him doing. Even Trump has been pointing out how politically dangerous it is for Republicans to get behind a 6-week abortion ban. Terrible idea. 2, the war on Disney is going south. Mickey, Minnie, Goofy, they have launched an insurgency. It has resulted in a dangerous lawsuit for Ron. It is not going well. The world tour has been a disaster. He got mocked basically everywhere he went. He was pissy. He embarrassed himself in front of business leaders. And it is building off of this existing narrative that his campaign just can't get off the ground or get anything right. The voter suppression stuff is gross and awful, but I do worry that Republican voters don't mind it and that it benefits them in the long run. And then, look, I just can't get that 3-finger pudding suck out of my head, and I hate it. So that is why I have the best list. That is why you should vote for me. And we like doing this so much that we want to raise the stakes.
We're going to raise the stakes here.
Here's what we want to do. You guys should put in the comments a punishment for the loser.
Could be anything.
Could be anything.
Within reason.
It could, except not anything.
It could be anything with a bunch of caveats.
It could be, with one big caveat, which is the winner gets to pick the punishment for the loser each week.
So that's our new thing now. You're all going to write in the comments what you want the loser to have to do. And so we'll do our regular polls where we choose a winner and a loser for this week. And the winner will choose the loser's punishment based on your comments in the comment section. So make sure that you throw a comment down and say, depending on who the loser is, it could be anybody, what you want them to do. So if you want to see Tommy, Obama's former national security advisor, stick 3 fingers into a jar of pudding and eat it on camera, you have that option right now. All you got to do is throw it in the comments and then vote for me because I've won this list and I've won this draft here, and I think we would all like to see that.
It's pudding time, so.
It's pudding time.
Let us know.
Well, you know what? That was an interesting suggestion. I honestly, watching the list, would say that it's pretty much a tie because DeSantis has fucked up that badly, like, all around. So I would call it a tie. I'd call it a draw. But if you guys want to have some publicity stunt of doing some pudding fingers, I kind of don't want to watch that. I'm being real with you. Because it was already gross enough to see it that many times, which it keeps coming up in my feed and it's grossing me out. But I think all of these events have put him in a place where he's already disqualified. He hasn't even announced, y'all. And I find it unlikely at this point that he will. Because Trump has already beat him to the ground. And that's the problem with the GOP is they can't handle a bully. They don't know how to rein Trump in, and they're not going to be able to. But also, when you have clowns running like this who are making all their own mistakes and trying to emulate Trump, Not gonna, I mean, honestly, y'all have to go back to being the party of true conservatives. What does that mean? That means that you want to conserve our wildlife, our lands. That's not what you are anymore. That's why you originally had a relationship with the NRA, because it was about gun safety. It was about training people how to hunt in the wild, because we have certain protected wildlands where you cannot do any hunting, but then we have national forests where hunting is allowed to help maintain a healthy population of animals. And that's why you have to get permitted. That's why you can't do it too much. This is why they have fishing licenses. It's so that we don't make, I mean, Republicans for a very long time focused on things like this, making sure that animals were not going to go extinct. And now all you care about is hating on people. That's all you care about.